Hi there. Welcome to our little chat time together as we all get through this time together. Now, I'm in Indianapolis. We have an absolute beautiful day. That's good news. The kind of the crummy news is it produces a little more restlessness. And it kind of points out a place where we're all living to one degree or another. And how we handle this place has a lot to do with, how we get through this. The place I'm talking about is Limbo. Now, let me talk to you about Limbo. Limbo, have you ever played Limbo? Go under the stick thing? What is that? Well, I don't even know if this relates, but I do know this, that when you bend backward, you're pretty close to falling over. And so it's kind of uncomfortable, I think. Well, limbo can be uncomfortable also. Limbo isn't just a transition. Transitions are when we are finishing up something, let's say college, and then we're working to get the big job. We might be back home for a little transition time. It's not defining, it's normal. And then we get the job, the apartment, whatever, we move out. Transition can be I was single and now I'm married and, I'm transitioning. It's not easy, but it's doable. Limbo is something totally different. It's when you're going nowhere. Okay, but there's a little catch to it. You're going nowhere, but that doesn't seem like that'd be bad, just to be. You're going nowhere, but you're kind of linked or locked in to the past. And it feels like you're kind of going backward. And because you're locked into something from the past, it's not healthy. Now let me give you two examples. Just today, I did two radio programs today on New Life Live. I'll give you two examples. There was a woman that called, and her husband had been just a horrible guy and left and moved in, married somebody else. And 18 years later, she's still angry and bitter and miserable. Now that's limbo. You see, she's going nowhere. Her life has not moved on. It's still there, and it's attached to and anchored to a past thing. And so I promised her that if she would take my advice, I rarely do this, that she could move on and get out of that place. Because I got to tell you something. I was there too, and I was betrayed, and I was bitter and angry. To give a person who has hurt you your whole life, to be fixed to them and let it continue to hurt and cause more pain. What a mistake that is. Let's get them out of there as quickly as we can. Now, we had another caller, and she was talking about her friend. And her friend's husband left, moved in with another woman. And every day, the man, the ex-husband, or the husband still called to tell her he loved her. Oh my goodness, what a horrible thing. Now, let's just think about that. If you're that person and you're accepting that phone call from a man who's betrayed you and is living with somebody else, and you're willing to listen to him, now isn't that just painfully heartbreaking to hear a woman is in that situation? And so I told this lady, you tell your friend, she has to stop this. She's feeding this little man boy like a mom feeds a little bird, and giving him what he wants, making him feel better. And there she is, attached and stuck and not moving forward. Listen, we are called to move forward. We are called by God. He has created us not to be stagnant, not to stay as infants physically or emotionally or spiritually, but to move forward. And so if we're going to move forward, I want to give you some questions to ask yourself if you're living in limbo. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because in this time of coronavirus crisis, it is kind of a limbo stage. We're not doing stuff like we used to. But I think if we were in limbo before, it can be devastating. I think if we were in a transition before, it can be devastating. So what we want to do is we want to be sure that we don't let this crisis destroy us or devastate us and put us into a deeper state of limbo. In fact, maybe we have a little extra time on our hands. Maybe we are able to do some work we couldn't have done if we were going off to work every day or whatever. Now, I know some of you got kids at home and you've got less time than ever. But maybe this could be helpful. So I want to give you some questions to ask. Am I afraid to move forward? Now, to answer that, you might say, well, no, I'm not afraid. But there might be evidence that you are. If you're still angry, bitter, and in pain over something that happened a long time ago, then maybe you're afraid to move forward. But you got to ask the question. It's a big question. Am I afraid to move forward? Because we know this. If we're engulfed with fear, I'll get to the big point later. But anyway, if I'm engulfed in fear, then I might decide to stay in an uncomfortable situation forward, still being afraid or anxious about the future. Second thing is, what is it, if anything, that I'm going to need to let go of if I'm going to move forward? It's a big question. Do I need to let go of the resentment, the bitterness? Do I need to let go of my shame? Is that something? I can't just say, okay, it's gone. But is that a place I need to work on? Shame. Is it a place that I really could spend some time? And if I did, I would be free at the end of that work. Is there grief work to be done to get there? So what do I need to let go of? It could be a relationship that's dragging me down and keeping me sick and stuck. Number 3, who has taken over my right and my need to decide for me? Did I get involved in a marriage where the other person thinks they're going to decide everything? Have they captured me? It's like I'm a hostage or something. Or am I in a sick relationship, dating relationship I need to get out of because they're making all the decisions? I had no idea. So if I'm married, I'm committed, but that doesn't mean I'm committed to sickness. And so I need to be having a heart-to-heart talk, and hopefully we could get some help. But if not, I've got to go get some help. And I can't allow this to continue and develop a deeper pattern where somebody else has taken my right and my need to be the decider in my life. By the way, in Take Your Life Back, I write all about needing to be the decider in your life. If you're not, Take Your Life Back. You could get it at newlife.com or 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now, here's another thing. Is there a fatal lie that allows me to stay stuck? Here's a lie. I can't make it on my own. I will fail miserably. I need this other person. I don't have what it takes. All sorts of lies that I could tell myself that would destroy any hope of God doing with me what God has created me to do. Now, here's the big one. This is the final question, the big question. Is fear so great that I'm willing to live in pain or shame so that I don't have to move out even though I'm afraid? Fear can be so powerful. Fear of the future, fear of the unknown, afraid I'm going to lose control or lose everything. It can be so great that I will live in shame and I will live out of control, lost forever. If that's the case, I've got to do something about that rather than just satisfy that. Well, I got a couple more questions, I realize. Who could I safely open up to? If I'm sensing I'm stuck, I'm not moving forward, God wants me to move forward, I'm not growing, and there's this thing in my life that's horrible, I hate it, who could I open up to? And then I do it. Now, people call us all the time, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and they get a counselor. Great, do that. Maybe there's a pastor. Maybe it's a church I don't go to, but I could call. It's a big church. Maybe they got a lot of pastors, and maybe they have a lot of time on their hands to talk to people on the phone. but do something. Open up to someone. And here's something that's always helped me. If I'm afraid to move forward, then what about I think of the worst case of moving forward? And then once I go through that scenario, I ask myself, could I survive that? Could I get through that and I'd be okay on the other side of that? And when the answer is yes, I could, then I'm more settled with moving forward, even though I'm afraid, because I know it's not going to kill me. It's not going to engulf everything about me, because I've covered the worst case. I mean, I will survive. You may not have the comfort that you used to. You may not have everything in place, but God will be there for you. You will survive. And so then what is going to be my first step? After I talk to somebody, after I think it through, is it a phone call? Do I need to enroll in a class? Is it change phone numbers so this person cannot contact me anymore? Is it connect, join, get online with people? What is it? What's my first big step? And once I take it, then I need to be really proud of myself and give myself a whole lot of time to get better. It won't be instant, and it won't be quick. One of the things that you might think about is getting this grief workbook that goes with the Life Recovery Bible, because a lot of times we'll never get out of limbo until we go through the grieving process, accepting what is no longer there for me. I grieve it, I let it go. Now I can pick up my life and begin to move forward. I'm going to talk some more about limbo tomorrow. I'll talk about the depression of limbo also, and I hope it'll be helpful to you. And if you know somebody that's kind of stuck and they need some encouragement, have them watch this on YouTube, but also have them tune in tomorrow, and maybe I'll help them a little bit more. Now, we've been giving away restoration Bibles for absolutely no cost. And if you want one, you just go to you email stevesocial@newlife.com. So email me, stevesocial@newlife.com, and I'll send you a free restoration Bible. Now, also, I'd love it if you would leave a comment. I'm going to go through all the comments tonight, and I'll comment right back to you. I love your comments. You have any suggestions for me? I'd love to hear those too. But I want to read to you, restore is the acronym for the Restoration Bible. And under E, this last E, it's eternal perspective. And I want to talk to you about God's omniscience in this crisis, His plan, His all-knowing nature. So listen to this. Here's the scripture from Jeremiah 1:5. I chose you before I formed you in the womb. I set you apart before you were born. I appointed you a prophet to all the nations. That's what God was saying to Jeremiah. And He did that for you too. We were on God's heart before the world even existed. And when the Almighty plotted our lives, He wasn't thinking, oh, my only desire is that they will believe all the right things and do all the right things. Instead, God's purpose for us is found in the phrase, in the knowledge that He chose us and formed us even while we were in the womb. We've been set apart. Paul explains it this way. Those that He foreknew, He predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, to live like Jesus. And those He predestined, He also called. And those He called, He justified. And those He justified, He also glorified. That's Romans 8:29-30. That is God's ultimate plan in our lives. Not that we pursue a certain career or engage in religious activities or experience health and wealth and get married and have children or do all the cool stuff on a bucket list of anybody. All those things are well and good so long as they help form Christ within us. That's the big goal. Instead of changing your schedule to include some spiritual activities, let Jesus change your character from the inside out. What a great idea. It's time to move forward. And sometimes the move out of limbo is the move on the inside. From what was and from what might have been to what is and what is to be under the power of God. Hey, thanks for joining me. I'll be right here again tomorrow, same time. And don't forget, you can email stevesocial@newlife.com, and I will send you a big, fat Restoration Bible. You will love it for study, for devotion time. Until then, really glad to be with you at these times. See you next time. Bye-bye.